now tuned in to the cold, hard truth. Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips@caymanmarlroad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Good morning.
Hey, morning. How are you?
You're early this morning?
Or we're late.
Or are we late?
We're late.
I think we're just in time.
Just on time.
Yeah.
We're still playing a little Coolio on the radio.
Oh my gosh. Throwback.
1996.
Wow.
2, 3. Huh?
Was that the year we picked? I was trying to think.
That was the year you picked, 1996.
Oops. Okay, hold on. I need to find another one for 96.
Was this the one you picked? You haven't picked a song yet.
No, I was thinking I said 91.
No.
Couldn't even remember.
You said 96.
Well, you can go back to yesterday's show and watch it and confirm it. It's on tape. It's on tape. Yeah. I like this though. This is a good one from 1996. Coolio. Also, 96 coming up later from Coolio, Gangster's Paradise.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know, but that's from the movie.
Really?
Yes.
Gangster's Paradise?
That was a theme song for Dangerous Minds. It was like the whole video was about was when they used to do videos with like the theme songs.
Okay.
But yeah, Dangerous Minds with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, who's the guy? What was his name?
Ooh.
Dangerous
Coolio?
Minds. No, the isn't he Australian? Yeah, that was in that movie.
I'm gonna have to go. I have not seen the film in so long. Let me see. Dangerous Minds starring Michelle Pfeiffer, George Dunza.
No. Who's the main character?
Michelle Pfeiffer.
With the guy though.
What guy?
Is there another guy in there?
What's the movie about?
He's very smart, right? Dangerous. He has a dangerous.
No, you're thinking Russell Crowe, and that has nothing to do with Dangerous Minds. Dangerous Minds is
Russell
about
Crowe.
Michelle Pfeiffer is a teacher.
Okay.
And
right.
Michelle Pfeiffer is a teacher.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
What was the other one I'm thinking of then? There was something Minds.
Oh, now I can't. Brilliant Mind. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's something like that. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Stand by. That's from 1996. Coolio. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a good song. Also, Gangster's Paradise from 1996. We'll play that coming up later. And you just said that's from the movie Dangerous Minds.
Dangerous Minds. So good. You know what's funny is I could see the video for Coolio's 1, 2, 3, 4. And like that house, like so 90s, that video.
7:27 right now.
Big news. I have some important news for you. Interesting news.
It's Blake and Darren's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
K-Man's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Hey, Sandy, how are you?
Hi, Sandy.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. So Blake's trying to figure out Dangerous Minds. You were getting confused with A Beautiful Mind.
A Beautiful Mind.
That was
That's
Russell Crowe. Right after
right.
Gladiator and Twisted Life. Anyway, all right, moving on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
How's your Friday?
What's up?
How's your Friday?
Happy Friday. Yes.
Yeah.
It's all good. News that's trending today. Hashtag Steve's gotta go. I don't know who Steve is, but Steve has managed to create this persona that has pissed off a lot of people.
It's so funny because someone on Facebook that was watching yesterday answered Blake's question saying, or Blake's like, who's the Steve person? And the person was like, Steve, the new name for a male Karen.
Male Karen.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah. So that's the universal meme in Cayman. So in case your audience has missed it, Steve claims to be, I think someone said he's a retired, some sort of officer or something, and something about his dog. But listen, everyone is like, this dude, Steve, has just got to go.
If he was a scuba instructor, he would have been Scuba Steve.
Yeah, scuba. I think that's what he said he was. He was in the world of scuba. Some backstory that, we don't know if it's true or whatever, but the bottom line is people are just really, really annoyed by whoever Steve is. And he has posted and put up a website called the Expat Association of the Cayman Islands. So we spent some time yesterday kind of talking about this. And I think he or she is amending the website as they go along. And they put up a new page about nationality discrimination or some bogusness, and it's just really got, I got it so many times yesterday, but it's one of those things that's just pushing all the wrong buttons for people, and people are just not
do you think that's the purpose though? Somebody might just be doing it to push buttons.
I said this yesterday. I'm kind of two minds. I think that's possible, and I also think it's possible that someone really does feel this way. And they're taking this opportunity to, kind of just come out and say what they want. They think that they're protected because they're behind some website and we don't know, who they are. And so they can kind of say whatever they want. I don't know. Do people just say stuff just for an effect factor and just to rile people up? At some level, I think that that's entirely possible. But I also think that, some people really do feel the way that Steve feels, which is kind of sad. But I said to someone yesterday, it's an eye-opener for a lot of people. It's not necessarily an eye-opener for me, because I know there's always, even if it's a minority, there are always people who think like Steve. And there's a lot of world events in the past, 5 years that have allowed people to feel like they can come forward and say these sort of things. Obviously, Steve is still hiding. People are digging into the website, trying to look for clues as to his or her identity. They have registered a .ky, which is interesting. So someone said to me, can't we just call Offreg and find out who's behind the .ky? And I'm like, well,
FOI.
Yeah, that's what they said. And I'm like, I don't think it's that easy unless Steve has sort of broken some sort of law or something. I'm guessing he is entitled to somewhat remain anonymous. but I think he might kind of be pushing it a little bit. So I don't know. We'll see. It's testing the bounds of freedom of speech for sure. And, in a community so small, it's not the kind of messaging that we really need to have out there.
Yeah, well, why does a retired person who's not going to, I'm assuming that if they're retired and they're here, I guess if they're on a work permit still, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, in the list, there are people like of independent means and stuff who would also be included in the mandatory vaccination. So, I don't know what category specifically Steve falls into, but Steve is like taking it to another level as well. Like, it's not just about the mandating of, vaccines. Now he's talking about outlawing selection by nationality. And, he says quite interesting things about the Cayman Islands. Which is kind of crazy. So we're going to go over that a little bit this morning.
I'm on the website. I don't see anything negative on the actual website. It's,
you know what happened the day before yesterday? So when I went to bed on Wednesday night, the homepage was a lot of crap. And then they kind of made some changes. So by the time we were doing the show yesterday and I revisited the website for the purposes of the show, a lot had changed. So I don't know if you've seen this specific section called Outlaw Selection by Nationality, because it's like a specific link. So I think you kind of have to look around for it a little bit on the website because there were some changes made.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because basically it's just news stories and
right. You got to go beyond the front of it a little bit.
And I believe that clearly the person who is doing this is British. Because you can join and be anonymous, and they ask you if you're a British passport holder or not.
Yeah, right. So the website kind of seems to, it tells you, you can be anonymous and you can have a pseudonym and all sorts of stuff. I didn't dig that deeply into it to saw that it asked for a passport, or if you have a British passport. But reading from it, I did get the impression this probably is a UK citizen of some sort. So in other news, police found a bit of ganja in a derelict vehicle.
Yeah, like what? Somebody just left a car with 4 pounds of weed in it?
4 pounds?
Yeah.
That's a lot. Where was this derelict car?
It's not that much. But
it was
Sandy
4
eats
packages.
all the time in her edibles.
4 packages.
No, they recovered 4 packages, about 4 pounds of suspected ganja. So, they just said it on Durham Drive in Georgetown. They found a member of the public just found a suspicious package close by. And then I guess the canine units, the authorities were called out, and they actually found a total of 4 packages in the vehicle. So that sounds like quite an interesting case because now, is it the person who left the vehicle there derelict that kind of forgot their ganja in the car? Yeah. Or is it somebody else?
Too much of your own product.
I was going to say they were too gulfed to remember what was going on.
Yeah. Or is this a situation
where did you park the car? Damn it.
Dude, where's my car?
I forgot.
Dude, where's my car? It's right there, dude.
Or maybe it's someone who thought, that car's been there for a while. I can use it for, store my ganja. I don't know.
That's kind of crazy.
It is a little bit crazy. It is crazy.
Yeah. Did they park it in the middle of the street? Like just
no.
Because there's so many cars that are just like left and no one ever checks them ever. They're just sitting there.
Yeah. So we have a positive, COVID positive child that was hospitalized on Wednesday. They seem the Dr. Lee said that they're doing okay. They've improved between Wednesday and Thursday. It's also one of those interesting things that since we've had a rise in cases, I've heard a lot of people saying, isn't it crazy that none of these kids are seriously ill? And I'm thinking, you do realize it's only a matter of time, right?
Yeah.
And no one in Cayman has died. I'm like, it's a numbers game. So it's only a matter of time before those things will happen here. And I think people who use that to justify like not getting vaccinated or their crazy ideas about COVID are really kind of missing the mark. We've had an outbreak recently, and as the numbers continue to rise, you're going to have more people that will fall into the category of being seriously sick. And you may even have people who may succumb to this virus here. So don't let that give you any like false comfort that you can in this present moment say, wow, nobody's in a hospital, nobody's dead. And I'm like, give it time. Not that we're wishing that, but it's like, that argument doesn't make any logical sense.
There's still unvaccinated people out there that are fully able to take the vaccine, but they will not for whatever reasons they have in their head. And I just want to get you guys an update on my friend back in the States who her parents were unvaccinated, refused to take the vaccine, tried to get medical help at a hospital. And the doctor said, no, go away. You guys chose not to get a vaccine. We're not going to provide you with medical help, which they don't have to because it's private medical help.
So
it's not public. I think he died.
Wow.
What?
He died. All he had to do was take, yes. I'm looking on her Facebook because I check daily because she's posting up a bunch of Trump propaganda.
Wow.
And now here she's changing the profile picture to him, and he died. It's very sad.
God.
It was fully they fully could have not been in this situation if they had just listened to an actual doctor's advice. And here he is.
This is her dad that died?
It's her stepdad, but it's
Wow.
she's very close. They were married. He was married to her mom for a long time, and I hate this story, and I hate to have to say this about a friend, but it's like the vaccine's free, and it's proven.
Wow.
That's all they had to do was take the free vaccine.
He's another statistic as part of the 700,000 deaths in the United States alone.
Yep.
4.5 million people worldwide have died from COVID.
For no
4.5 million.
I know some of those people.
Some of those don't have access to the vaccine.
Some of those don't have access to the vaccine. Some of them can't take the vaccine. Again, they're obviously that's before the vaccine.
But what's interesting is more people in
the
U.S. have died from COVID in 2021 than they did last year in 2020, which is crazy because we didn't have the vaccine there last year, but the vaccine is there this year.
Well, I mean, the Delta variant is a lot different, and it will keep mutating in the unvaccinated, and it will just have to keep getting vaccinated until eventually, who knows what's going on? Because I have no idea.
Yeah,
but
we did. I don't know if you heard the story about pets getting a coronavirus.
Oh my God. Yeah, let's talk about this. So I don't know what was going on at the Compass yesterday, but there were some weird things. Of course, I don't read the Compass, so I have to be fair to them. And that these were only posts that I saw. So I did see someone put up a post about how, this is why I don't read the Compass, because they're all about clickbait. And apparently they had a photo and a video of a dog being tested, PCR tested, it looked like.
Yeah.
And one of the local, let me just double check. I don't know if it was the vet office, but one of the local physicians
Canine vets.
It was canine vets.
Canine vets, yes.
Yeah,
yeah.
canine
So
vets, yeah.
Posted saying that this story isn't about a dog getting coronavirus. So it was a little bit misleading, I think, maybe with the headline. And to be fair to the Compass, sometimes you pick a headline that's a bit off.
Yeah. Well, it is true that what the dog had is a type of coronavirus, but it's
not the coronavirus.
No, it's not the coronavirus.
It's only for dogs. So Dr. Colin from Cayman Vets had to issue us, and it went out to anyone that goes there. I got the email from Dr. Colin basically saying it is not related to COVID-19. It is not transmissible to humans and poses no risk to the pet owners, their families, of any person in the Cayman Islands. It is in the coronavirus family. It is species specific, meaning it only occurs in dogs.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they did find out that the coronavirus can be in pets as well. So I think when this headline came out, it kind of gave the impression, because I'll show you guys the headline here in a second, but it did say something about the coronavirus. And I think people were like, oh my God, the coronavirus. So the headline said, as humans are grappling with the coronavirus, ooh, look at what's happening to dogs. So I think when people saw that headline, they immediately thought, oh my God, this clearly means that dogs have here it is.
You've heard about it in zoos. You're like, oh, a tiger tested positive at the San Diego Zoo or whatever.
Yeah. So this was the headline, folks. It says, as human PCR test conducted on dog amid cases of respiratory virus. So that part of it, I guess if you thought about it, that doesn't necessarily say, I guess that doesn't necessarily say the coronavirus, but when you hear PCR test, everybody thinks that's what you're testing for.
And you did say COVID-19 in the
and then in the top right. So that's like the I guess that's the leader paragraph. But
Yeah.
yes,
Mhm.
as you guys said, dear concerned pet parents, this email had to go out to say, listen, following the publication of an article in the Compass, and in the interest of avoiding misinformation, this is really what's happening here. It's not that. There's no need for you to worry about that. And then on top of that, I mean, the Compass obviously, had that going on. And then on top of that, yesterday, the RCIPS sent out an alert about another situation with the Compass, an email that looks like it's a phishing email, a fake email that went out. And the RCIPS actually had to say, listen, there's an email, a suspicious email circulating that's designed to look like it's from the Compass. It isn't. And it features a breaking news story about the borders reopening. And you should not click on any of those links because it's designed to grab your information. Here's the irony of it. During yesterday morning show, one of my people in my WhatsApp news group messaged me and she said, Sandy, have you seen this? Is this true? And I was in the middle of the show and I took a quick glance at it and I said, no, that's not true. But I didn't really think about the fact that it was just, again, encouraging people to, and this is the email, encouraging people to click. So I think this is a couple of times now in the past year that the Compass has had this happen. It looks like some kind of a security breach where someone is able to pretend like the email is coming from them and then, encourage people to click on it.
Well, they're picking the wrong news source. I mean, if they really want people to click on stuff, they should say it's from CMR.
Oh my goodness! I think the interesting thing about it is the Compass didn't really say anything about it. Now we've had it happen once, I think, and the moment we find out, listen, we post up on our social media, don't click on it. Like we notify people. I didn't see anywhere that the Compass had actually done that. So it is a little bit bizarre. But there you have it.
All right. So 1996 is our throwback year today.
All right. Let me see now. I got a whole list here.
Got a whole list. Okay. Well, we
all
have time
from 1991,
for
unless if you forgot.
I know. Can I pick something a little bit slower? Like I feel like I want.
Sure.
Okay.
We want Feel Don't Cry. Let me guess. What's the song?
I like One Sweet Day by Mariah.
That's a really good one.
Yeah, we did play that.
So I say let's
I
go
told
that.
you. We can see.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Gosh, there were so many good songs that year. Change the World by Eric Clapton.
That's a good one.
Oh,
yes, right?
Yeah. I mean,
is he retired? What's he doing?
I mean, he's problematic,
He's
but he's got good music.
Okay. Yeah, I love me some
World.
Yeah,
There
just don't Google about his personal views.
Oh Jesus. Give Me a Reason by Tracy Chapman.
Ooh, Tracy Chapman, that was.
Yeah.
Give me a reason to stay here. That's
a good one. You haven't heard this in a long time.
I haven't heard this. I could change.
Sandy, enjoy the weekend. We'll catch you on Monday.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
See you later.
Au revoir.
Yeah, some good songs, man. Back in the day, I'm telling you. All right, folks. Good morning. Good morning. Wagwan. 225 people already have it locked in. Marshall, good morning. Good morning, Felicia. Grace is here. Malita. She's got KY. Hashtag Steve's got to go. Troy, good morning. Who wants to join the show this morning to talk about what's his name? Oh Lord. Don't send me any COVID news right now. My brain can't even take it. I've got a video, folks, that we're gonna put up. Let me just send out something real quick to my what's up list so everybody can know that they can join the show. I do have a video from the premiere that I'm going to play. How are you guys doing? I'm doing pretty good today. Feeling good, feeling better. Still a little bit kind of croaky, but as you can see, the congestion that was there has largely disappeared. And yeah, it's coming together. All right. Good morning, Miss Joy. Valerie is here. Good morning, Evelyn. Anna is here. Tommy joining us in the Bahamas says happy weekend. Wee Wee. Good morning to you. Hi, Larry from New York. Diamond Princess Sapphire. Karen, good morning. Louis, TGIF, indeed. Where is Rocio this morning? I need to message Rocio. Okay. All right. I do need to grab my morning tea. All right. We've got Odette saying good morning to all. Lisa, how are you? Lisa says, get vaccinated, please, people. Children are being affected. Children. Yes, indeed. Thank you. Carol is saying she enjoyed the show last night, folks. Do not forget that if you missed it last night, Dr. Klotman was on. He has his biography reads like a who's who of the dude is like legit. A long list of accomplishments, and not taking anything away from, our local physicians. A lot of times they just would not have had the opportunity to have the extensive amount of exposure as someone who comes from a jurisdiction where they they can do research studies. There's like so much that you can do when you live in big areas. Cayman, after you get qualified and you practice in Cayman, admittedly, there are, fewer opportunities for you to gain expertise. And this is why when I hear people here, physicians here, wanting to come up with their own ideas about COVID, I think to myself, you probably need to rely on the experts. And you can't be an infectious disease expert if you've never had any of that experience. I'm just saying. It seems quite logical to me, but there are other people who don't quite see it that way. So we're going to play a clip from last night's show, but let me just read you some of his biography in the meantime, right? So it's Dr. Paul Klotman. He began serving as president and CEO of Baylor College of Medicine on September the 1st of 2010. He received a BS, a science degree in 1972. So I know some people here said, oh, I've been practicing for donkey years. Well, you're not the only one in the world who's been practicing for donkey years, but let's continue reading. From the University of Michigan, his MD from Indiana University in 1976. He completed his medicine and nephrology training at Duke University Medical Center. He stayed at Duke as a faculty member, rising to the rank of associate professor of medicine before moving to the NIH in 1988, where he became chief of the molecular medicine section in the laboratory of developmental biology. I mean, I could stop there, and already he has outqualified some of the anti-vaxxers who've been speaking out in the community who are also physicians. But let us continue reading because the man has way more credentials than that. In 1993, he became chief of the viral pathogenist laboratory in the NIDR NIH. In 1994, he moved to Mount Sinai School of Medicine as the Irene and Dr. Arthur M. Fishberg Professor of Medicine and the chief of the division of nephrology. In 2001, he was selected to be the chair of the Samuel Bronfman Department of Medicine at Mount Sinai School of Medicine. And then the college's board of trustees named him as the school's new president in July of 2010. Klotman's research has been a blend of both basic and clinical research in molecular virology and AIDS pathogenesis. He developed the first small animal model of HIV-associated neuropathy using transgenic techniques, and he's the author of more than 200 publications. Now, let me just say something about when you're in certain professions, such as the medical profession and even the legal profession. There's such a thing as, being involved in publications. That's kind of like the academic side of things. And that is how you prove a lot of your, I don't want to say prove, but that's when you know you're extremely esteemed, when you start to get into the world of publications, peer-reviewed studies, and that sort of thing. Like that's another level. That's not just, oh, I've been a general, a GP for 30 years, and you come in with your knee aches and whatever, and I help you out. These are people who, folks, are deep into their areas of expertise and research. 200 publications is absolutely nothing to sneeze at. Trust me. For those of you who are wondering what nephrology is, that's a specialty of adult internal medicine and pediatric medicine that concerns the study of the kidneys. So a very, very specific, again, area of medicine. It goes on to say that he's been a visiting professor and lecturer internationally in the field of HIV. Oh, I've got a mosquito in the office today. Pathogenesis. He's been elected to both the American Society of Clinical Investigation and the Association of American Physicians. He's on the editorial boards of journals in the United States and in Europe, and he served on and chaired numerous studies sections, including those from the NIH, the American Heart Association, the National Kidney Foundation, and the VA Research Service. And folks, his credentials don't stop. In addition to his laboratory efforts, Kloppman has been an active clinician, teacher, and mentor. Students from his laboratory have won prestigious scientific competitions. He's trained more than 50 clinical fellows, postdoctoral fellows, and students in his laboratory since 1984, most of whom are independently funded. He was named Physician of the Year by Mount Sinai nurses. And as the chair of medicine, he moved the Department of Medicine at Mount Sinai to a top-tier academic program by expanding the faculty practice, increasing basic and clinical research revenues, and developing new community projects and focusing on the educational mission. He also serves on the scientific advisory boards of biotech, pharmaceutical, and healthcare companies, and he serves on the board of several companies, including those with interest in natural resources and conservation. Now, at Baylor University, he oversees the only private health science university in the greater Southwest, with research funding of nearly $400 million. Now, I know y'all, again, patting your little locals on the back, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm all for applauding local talent. However, local talent cannot compare. They've never even seen a $400 million budget. They wouldn't know what to do. I mean, they're running a facility with probably, a couple $1 million facility per annum. If they had access to $400 million, it'd probably blow their minds. The medical school is ranked one of the top 25 for research and one of the top 10 for primary care by the U.S. News and World Report. The School of Health Professions is among the best 15 in the nation, and the Graduate School of Biomedical Science is rated in the top 5%. In addition, the college is home to the first National School of Tropical Medicine in North America, and the college is also ranked first amongst all Texas colleges, universities, and medical schools in federal funding for research and development, and is ranked second in federally funded research expenditures by the National Science Foundation. So needless to say, folks, his bio reads like a who's who. And it's amazing to me, a big shout out to Adrian, that we were able to secure someone of his expertise, his caliber, his level on this program. Folks, we are pulling out all the stops for you all to make sure that you're educated. And it was really interesting to see people last night. Yes, question. Listen, I'm all for ask questions, to educate yourself. But it's amazing, again, that you Facebook scientists were sitting here asking this man with all these credentials some of the most ridiculous questions. Like, you're putting information out there that is fake news, that is, based on misinformation. And, you're trying to put this man to the test. And I saw him kind of shaking his head like, I don't even know where people get this kind of stuff from. But he was kind and gracious enough to join the program. He was kind and gracious enough to share his knowledge with us. And thank you so much, Carol. I'm glad that you appreciated it. We certainly appreciated him taking, listen, this man could have been doing a million other things, including probably just resting because he's so busy. You know, when you have that kind of expertise available to you, take advantage of it. So some of you were throwing out some really ridiculous things. There was one that someone put up there that we were able to debunk, even, you know, as I was on the show. I was like, listen, just same way you can find all this crap online, on Facebook, and through social media platforms or whatever websites you're going to, you could actually go a step further and have a look at how it's all been debunked. So there's somebody mentioned some so-called publication and some guy, and he's been debunked before COVID even existed, folks. Come on. I'm begging y'all to please do your research. Carlos is back this morning. I hope you intend on behaving yourself, Carlos. Carlos wants to know if he comes to Cayman fully vaccinated, does he still have to quarantine? Well, you need to do more than that. At this point, you need to be vaccinated, and you also need to have a negative PCR test. And as it stands now, depending on when you're coming, yes, you would have to quarantine also for a certain period of time. So Carol says that there's so much resistance against the vaccine. Jamaica just had to destroy thousands as the uptake is too low. Are you kidding me? Oh my God, that's horrible. I mean, literally, there are people around the world who are dying and begging for this vaccine. And Jamaica had to destroy it. Wow, that is unbelievable. That is sad. That takes it to a whole, oh my God, that is so sad. Wow, Carol, that's I didn't know that, to be honest. That's news to me. I'll ask Renee, the regional correspondent, to maybe have a look at that for me. But that is, wow. That's crazy. And I did mention this yesterday. You know, nobody's picking on Jamaica. I guess there are people who have a choice, just like anything else in life. But when you look at their numbers, you would think the number of deaths that they're experiencing and so on, that they would really, that they would really seek to, it's crazy, but they would actually seek to get vaccinated. The fact that they're not is quite sad, to be honest. And it does impact us in the sense that, you know, we have a lot of Jamaicans who do come to Cayman, especially to work. So the mandate is going to impact them if they wish to come here. I did have a question yesterday. Someone contacted me and said, you know, they've got a girlfriend in Jamaica who's partially vaccinated, and she wants to be able to come to the Cayman Islands and get the second vaccine. And she's wondering if she would be able to do that. So to be, clear, I said to them, well, no, she would have to be fully vaccinated. And on top of being fully vaccinated, she also needs to ensure that she's getting her second dose from the same vaccine. So she was planning on just taking whatever we have here. And that's not quite how it works, folks. You got to make sure that if you've gotten one jab already, you know which one you've gotten. And there's recommendations for different ones. So the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, for example, has a different, I think that's a single dose, right? Is Johnson & Johnson single dose? I feel like it is. But AstraZeneca and Pfizer have different times when they recommend actually taking the second dosage. So those things, you want to ensure that you are following the instructions of the experts. So let's have a look at what Dr. Klotman had to say last night on the program.
What an amazing show we had with Dr. Paul Klotman. He is the president and CEO of Baylor College of Medicine. He answered many questions that people had who were watching via Facebook or YouTube. I really want you to watch the entire show, which is available on the Cayman Mall Road Facebook or YouTube page. I did put together, however, a shorter version of just a few highlights from the show, and here it is.
People who are not vaccinated are going to get infected, and a percentage of those are going to have a real problem, and some of them are going to die. There are people who will, even though they're vaccinated, don't get the greatest immune response and get sick and get serious stuff. But it's very, very small. I mean, the differences are huge. 97% of the admissions in our hospitals locally here are unvaccinated. You look, and you were talking about the ICUs. You ran the little video before it. The ICUs, it's mostly unvaccinated people. Why would you want to take that risk? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's really playing Russian roulette with a very serious virus. And we showed you the number of people who have died in this country. It's worse than any other thing we've experienced. Why would you even take the risk? And if you look in the states where there's high vaccination rate, there's very low death rate. If you look at the states, there's low vaccination rate, very high death rate. So you have a chance to do something the United Kingdom isn't doing. Do it better. Do way better than the United Kingdom. Get yourselves 90%, 95% vaccinated. Keep your public health measures and make them all look bad.
Israel at first was, they were on it and things were going well. And all of a sudden now you're hearing, well, Israel's needing all these extra boosters. Things aren't going so good. What went wrong is the question.
So that what went wrong is the same thing that went wrong with the United Kingdom. So they were doing well. They were actually, Israel was up to about 70% of their population vaccinated. UK was around 68, 69%. The UK declared on July 19th, Freedom Day. It was just, it's just stupid, freedom from the virus. Well, having 69% of your population vaccinated isn't anywhere near what you need. You need 85 or 90%. And so they relaxed all of their public health measures, got rid of masks, stopped having, any restrictions on social distancing. And they have continued to have a very high level of infections even now. Now, Israel did the same thing. They relaxed their social restrictions. They removed their mask orders, and they just didn't. They weren't very smart. So in contrast, Italy, right? Italy was the worst. In Padua, Italy was where it was all overrun. They were doing terribly. There was a lot of criticism of the prime minister because they hadn't really invoked social restrictions very much. They started the Green Pass, which is a passport. You can't travel, you can't enter restaurants, you can't do anything unless you show that you've been vaccinated. They insist on mask wearing indoors, social distancing, and they have been doing great. So where you treat it like it's a viral infection, vaccinate the most people, have vaccine passports. So if you're not vaccinated, you can't come into a crowd. You wear masks, if you in any kind of mixed group. They've done a very good job. UK is not. Israel was doing great. Not so much anymore.
If you have any questions, please contact me. My WhatsApp is 407-267-8402, or you could find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just search for PIO Kevin W.
There I go, forgetting to unmute again. Yes, I do forget to unmute a lot. I was just saying that Lisa was talking about the situation with the dog. Good morning, Ms. Carol. Good morning, Christine. Jennifer's here. Emma, thank you so much for tuning in. Jason is joining us. Hey, Jason. Mr. Blair is here, says, I'm ready to enjoy the show from Orlando. Thank you so much to our international crew. Kay, Miss Rose, the beautiful Daisy. Don't worry, it's unmuted now. Peter, hey Peter, how you doing? Carol says people that say the vaccine is dangerous, etc., need to listen to him. Sadly, they won't. Well, the irony of it, Carol, is some of them were tuned in last night, and I think that's the first step to getting correct information out there, that hopefully they were listening with a open ear, and more importantly, an open mind, because they were physically there. Now you can be physically there and still checked out, but I hope that wasn't the case. I hope they were actually listening to what the good doctor had to say. So Carol says, yes, yeah, that's so sad. I cannot believe. I can't believe that. I mean, I'm still in shock that they have allowed vaccines to go to waste. There was somewhere else in the world that I saw that they had destroyed. I think this was actually in California or somewhere in the US, where they had actually destroyed a vaccine like booth or something and wasted, like they threw down several vials of vaccine. So, you know, that was kind of sad as well. I'm like, people have gone crazy. So anti-vaxxers were protesting and overturned, you know, a sort of makeshift temporary vaccination station and wasted some vaccines. And I mean, I'm like, okay, if you don't want to take it, that's your decision, right? That's, you keep saying it's a personal choice. But why are you destroying a vaccine that somebody has paid for? You might not have paid for it, but somebody has paid for it. And on top of that, that other people in the world are dying, literally dying, to get their hands on. Oh my God, it's horrible. Thank you guys so much for letting me know about the audio. Yeah. So even, you know, even Erin on 106 was saying this morning, you know, that her friend whose family member had COVID, her stepdad, and they were big anti-vaxxers. And now that he's died, you know, Erin doesn't sound entirely sympathetic towards them. And I think the sympathy is going to wane. Like, you know, yes, people are dying, but when you see someone like that dying needlessly, that is when you say to yourself, yeah, that's not good. So, you know, I really think that people need to do their best to avail themselves of the resources that are available. Who makes good medicine just go to waste because of, you know, the fact that you're misinformed? I mean, it's just crazy. It really is crazy to me. Miss Janet says, I'm puzzled as to why Jamaica has to destroy so many vaccines. I know some people who are waiting for their second dose and can't get it as they were told that they ran out. I understand they're very disorganized. Well, this is an interesting thing. I was just sharing to you guys that I got a phone call yesterday about someone who was saying, you know, a lady wants to cut, she's coming to Cayman on a work permit, and she wants to get her second dose here. And when I was kind of asking a few additional questions, they said that she was told that in Jamaica, she has to wait until December. She just got AstraZeneca, and she has to wait until December sometime to get the second dose. I'm like, December? This is like October. She got it, I think, last week or the week before. I'm thinking, why did she wait until December? So I don't really know what the situation is in Jamaica or how organized they are. I mean, obviously they have a much larger population to contend with. But, you know, people like that are being told that they have to wait a long time to be able to get a second dose, which is bizarre. I'm not sure I quite understood. This morning I am drinking some, what is this one? I can't remember which flavor this is. Is this a detox one? I think it's a detox. Then these are the ones have little quotes with them. It says, if you're happy, everyone looks up and shares our happiness. Yogi. Well, Chad, they don't know about the Cayman crab in the bucket mentality. But anyway, we'll leave that right there with the tea bag. Hot tea. Hello, Miss Wee Wee. Rosemary is watching. Nona's here. Omeria is here. Pleasant good morning to you. She says, to God be the glory. Olivia, thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm extremely puzzled by what's happening in Jamaica, what you're saying to me, because it just doesn't make any logical sense. It's crazy, actually. if I had to be honest. I tell you, in my opinion, the world has gone a little bit bonkers. Okay, let us continue the conversation. Good morning, Patricia. How are you? Britta, good morning. Britta says she's got her third shot, which is her booster. So Lisa says, I think trying to get more first doses. But isn't the same... I don't know. So I think the AstraZeneca is a little bit different. And this is what I was saying to the lady yesterday as well. I said, the thing that has been said that you do not want to do by the professionals is you don't want to mix vaccine types. So if you got a first shot for Pfizer, you don't want to go and get a second shot for AstraZeneca. That's not how it should work. So that's one of the things that has really been pushed out there. And in case you missed that memo, don't be mixing your vaccines, folks. If you got first shot of AstraZeneca, get your second shot of AstraZeneca. Same with the Pfizer. So good morning to Louis. So CMR is still the number one, so people need to listen. Thank you, Delcy, for joining us this morning. We have a new video that has dropped as well from our creative team. So there's lots of people in the background. You know, we have to hire people to do certain things for us. And I love that Kevin has some video skills because, you know, he's coming from that background. So he's able to put some of his little videos together himself. I don't really, I mean, I dabble a little bit, so I can take like a, what do you call it? I can take a, like if people give me different video clips, I can kind of put it together, do a little bit of lower thirds, but I'm no video expert by any stretch of the imagination, right? I just play around with it to the best of my ability. But you know, there are people who have legit video skills. And of course, sometimes we have to rely on those experts to get certain things done. So I want to give a shout out to the different people that we have to use for that. Of course, they don't come free, child, so you got to pay. I'm going to show you one that was just done. All right. So thank you, Kevin and Delcy. Good morning. The world has gone mad, says Sue. So check out this is being premiered here first, our latest little short video. All right, folks. All right, good stuff. I think we need to put little dashes in the phone number, though. It looks really weird having it all together like that, actually. I'll make a few amendments. Yeah. So let me just... Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sorry. So I'll make a few little changes to that. All right, folks. Let us, someone just said to me on WhatsApp, have you guys noticed, does anybody else use WhatsApp desktop? And since the outage the other day, if you close it, no matter what you do, you can't get it to open back up. You have to uninstall it and then install it again. Getting super annoying. Can somebody notify Facebook to please fix that? I don't know what has happened to the WhatsApp PC version, but it's not working the way it used to. This is a physician saying, my sources in Jamaica tell me that the problem is the vaccine rollout rather than uptake. For example, people have to stand in line at National Arena for 4 hours for a jab. And who has 4 hours to waste? I mean, you need to get it, but you know, that's a lot of time. So I think that they need to figure out a better way of getting it done, quite frankly. Yeah. All right. Lisa says, Kevin, it is a book. Check it out. It helps me cope with the madness. Are you recommending a book? Oh, she's saying a book called The Psychological, is it Psychology of Pandemics or Psychological of Pandemics? Diana says it's crazy because it is not true. Listen to the news before you come and talk. The Pfizer is good until the 31st of this month, and they're giving this 2-shot now, so they're not going to waste. Carol, I mean, we'll certainly check that, but Carol, I'm not sure where Carol saw that, but we can certainly find out. We can find out. I've already messaged Renee actually and asked her to look into it. So Nona says it's possible that the crab in the bucket mentality is being practiced among those Cayman and anti-vaxxers who don't even want their own to have a chance of success when it comes to surviving this deadly pandemic. In other words, Nona is saying that maybe they just want people to die because, you know, that lessens the chance of them having competition. I don't know that they have quite thought it through to that level, Nona. I don't think that that's happening. I think that they just have a lot of misguided views about the world of medicine and about vaccines, and this particular vaccine. So they're trying to kill the competition. I don't know. I'm not quite sure they're that devious. I think it's more just they believe what they believe, and what they believe isn't based in science. So Natasha says, I know several persons, all doctors, surgeons, Methodist, Baptist, NYC, who have each taken every single one of them the vaccine offered. Their rationalization is that each will cover the shortfall or fallings of the other, ensuring that they're fully protected. So you mean that they are getting vaccinated with multiple vaccines? So they're taking both AstraZeneca and Pfizer, and that's interesting. That sounds a little bit crazy to me, to be honest. I don't know, like mixing vaccines, mixing medicines and stuff normally isn't recommended. Now, they said here not to mix the dosages. Now, I don't know. That would have been a good question for Dr. Klotman last night, to be honest, because I don't know if you can. Gee, that's interesting. I don't know. That's Natasha. That has me scratching my head. I don't know what to think about that one. That sounds a little bit weird, but medically, maybe it's not going to do anything to them in terms of harm. Like, is there such a thing as having too much vaccine? I don't know. Can you overdose on vaccines? I have no clue. That one has me like, I don't know. All right, Louis says the camera setting that you have, keep it up. Well, we haven't changed anything recently. Same lens. We changed out our lens months ago. Remember we had the 16 millimeter lens? Then we changed it to the, I think this one is a 35, I want to say. I'd have to look, but I think that's what it is. So it is a closer view and less of the background. But I think given the distance, I'm really not that far from the camera. I can't quite touch it, but it's like 2 arms length away. So yes. Thank you for noticing though. Tracy says you would think after all this time that there'd be a better system in place. That's what I'm thinking as well. But you know what it says to me? It has been quite some time that, you know, there has been quite some time that a country has had to roll out any sort of vaccination program, mandatory vaccination to try to cover as many people as possible. So I have to wonder that maybe a lot of countries, just like us, were simply not prepared. Like they didn't have a plan. Speaking of rolling out a vaccination plan, let's go back to this video now for the MP for, where did I say this was? Barbados? Let's have a look at this.
If I use a speech prepared for me to deliver today, it would be a repetition of what you have heard from others and also from me. Equally, how many more times will we then have a situation where we say the same thing over and over and over to come to naught? My friends, we cannot do that anymore. How many more variants of COVID-19 must arrive? How many more before a worldwide action plan for vaccinations will be implemented? How many more deaths must it take before 1.7 billion excess vaccines in the possession of the advanced countries of the world will be shared with those who have simply no access to vaccines? In the words of Robert Nesta Marley, who will get up and stand up? Who will get up and stand up for the rights of our people? Who will stand up in the name of all those who have died during this awful pandemic? The millions. Who will stand up in the name of all those who have died because of the climate crisis? Or who will stand up for the small island developing states who need 1.5 degrees to survive as we go to COP26? It is not beyond us to solve this problem. If we can find the will to send people to the moon and solve male baldness, as I've said over and over, we can solve simple problems like letting our people eat.
So, folks, there you have it. She's saying that it shouldn't be that difficult and it shouldn't be that hard to try to implement. I mean, it is. I mean, it is difficult and it is hard for countries around the world. But at the UN, the speech was given recently. The Prime Minister of Barbados saying that, listen, we need a unified program across the globe. But of course, it becomes so much more difficult when, people are anti-vaxxers, pro-choicers, whatever they want to call themselves, are out there spewing the rhetoric that they speak. I mean, it's great. Let's have a unified program of worldwide vaccinations like we've had with many other vaccinations. That's how we've gotten many communicable diseases, many other pandemics under control. That worldwide effort is eventually coming. However, having said that, at no other time in the history of mankind has there been such a level of ignorance. And the irony of it is, here's the irony of it. We live in 2021. Most people have access to information like they've never had ever before because of the advances in technology. And the most ironic thing now is that has been used to also propagate so much misinformation into the public realm. So at no time in history has there been such a backlash against vaccinations as what you see now, despite the fact that we have the most information available about vaccines. We have the most, you're able to do your research. You're actually able to see the list of ingredients. So when people say, oh, well, we don't know what's that. Yes, you do. When people are being vaccinated with polio and mumps and measles and rubella and whatever, they didn't have access to know what was in it. That wasn't available by the touch of one, two little fingers on Google. So we have access to information, but people are taking on board so much misinformation. And the irony certainly isn't lost on me. Because of technology, we all have almost equal access to being informed and being educated. We can bring in a Dr. Klotman, someone of his caliber, right to your living room. You could have sat last night in the comfort of your home, folks, and watched this man talk to you and answer your questions. When else would that have been possible? People talk about, oh, well, let's bring Cayman 27 back. No shade to Cayman 27, but the technology that they were using at the time, they would have been bringing him in how? He would have had to have been flown in, or you know what I'm saying? Old technology, just set it aside. You can still have access to these people right in your living room, folks. And there are people who actually sit there and want to question experts who've been studying this and being involved in the field for 30, 40, 50 years, right? You want to come out with your PhD from Facebook and ask these ridiculous questions. Well, vaccinated people catch it. You know, the way that he responded to that, Kevin, I hope you're going to clip that one out as well, because the way that the good doctor responded to that last night was just so on point. I mean, I've got to remember his response because it was just, you know, really on point. Good morning, Judy. So Natasha clarifies that they didn't mix the dosages. They took the full Pfizer, and then 3 months later, in between each vaccine. So they've not stopped traveling for their surgeries, and this was the main reason for taking it. Okay. I guess. Judy says, yes, I read some articles saying that there was some advantage to using 2 different vaccines for first and second dosages. I've only read that they don't want you to do that. I can do a quick search to see if that position has changed. But I did see... let's see. Okay, so just 1 day ago, in Bloomberg, it says that the FDA is actually reviewing data and mixing and matching boosters. So that one seems specific to boosters. So that looks like it's being looked into. So nothing yet. Oh, here's another interesting article. Heart damage plagues COVID survivors a year after infection, studies show. So remember, everybody's like, oh, I might get myocarditis. Well, what you're going to get from the virus itself is far worse than anything you could possibly be getting from the vaccine. So this article wants me to pay for it. They have a paywall. They must be related to the Compass Joe. Mix and match vaccines trigger potent immune response, potentially. Can you mix vaccines? What experts are saying. So this is another one from 4 days ago. How newly improved booster dosages impact protocol. So most of these seem to be federal health officials have fielded many protocols for additional COVID-19 vaccine. So I think this is for the booster. So is it safe to mix and match COVID booster vaccines? So this isn't really, we're not really necessarily talking about the booster. We're just talking about mixing. So the World Health Organization in July, and of course this is now October, so this could have changed. I'm very much aware that the data on COVID overall is just coming in at a very quick rate. So at the time, the World Health Organization in Geneva had their chief scientists had advised individuals against mixing and matching COVID-19 vaccines from different manufacturers, saying that such decisions should be left to public health authorities. So there's not much more here in that one. I'll see what I can. September 22nd, this one's more recent, says that CDC vaccine panel ponders mixing and matching COVID boosters. So again, it looks like they're kind of all looking at boosters right now. So it's an interesting question. There is one here from pharmaceuticaltechnology.com saying that mixing different COVID-19 vaccines has emerged as a potential solution to these problems, with the problems being manufacturing and supply constraints. So all currently available vaccines minus Johnson & Johnson must be given as a one jab, must be given as 2 dosages, sorry. The first dose primes the immune system while the second dose boosts its response. So not only would mixing vaccine doses give global vaccine rollouts a much needed push, but studies have suggested that it could offer better protection against COVID-19 too. So I think the research is very early stage, but they do have a preliminary study that's mentioned here by Oxford University scientists in June, found that mixing the AstraZeneca and the Pfizer vaccine generated a robust immune response against the virus, including higher antibodies than an AstraZeneca only 2-dose schedule. So AstraZeneca and Pfizer, okay. Researchers conducted the COMCOV, which stands for Comparing COVID-19 Vaccine Schedule Combinations. A study found that the order of your immunization also had an impact. These are the devils in the details, so you don't just run out there and say, give me 2 shots. The order. So while AstraZeneca followed by Pfizer shows a better immune response out of the 2 mixed dosing regimes. So AstraZeneca first and then Pfizer. Professor Matthew Snape, chief investigator of the trial, said that the COMCOV study has evaluated mix and match combinations of the Oxford and Pfizer vaccine to see to what extent these vaccines can be used interchangeably, potentially allowing flexibility in the UK and global vaccine rollout. The results show that when given at a 4-week interval, both mixed schedules induce an immune response that is above the threshold set by the standard schedule of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. A more recent trial conducted in South Korea has shown that a mixed vaccination with AstraZeneca as the first dose and Pfizer as the second dose induced neutralizing antibody levels 6 times higher than those after 2 dosages of the AstraZeneca jab. So it looks like it's kind of comparing it to just AstraZeneca and Pfizer. I don't know about Moderna or anything else. And it looks like what they're pretty much saying is AstraZeneca first, followed by the Pfizer. But give me some time over the weekend, if you're interested in this, to maybe find a bit more, because there might be something even since this one was, this article was, what's the date on this one? August. So now we're September, October. That's 2 months ago. And stuff might have changed since 2 months. So give me some time to look into that. But it is a very interesting theory. So going back to Natasha's point, your doctor friends might be onto something. Judy says Canada administered mixed dosages because they hadn't ordered enough. What a hot mess. There you go. Patricia said there's a lot of corruption in a lot of countries that don't have enough vaccines and poor people don't have access. Well, you know, Patricia, this was one of the concerns with the vaccine rollout. Why, especially in the Caribbean, there were countries who were part of, what is the name of, oh gosh, help me remember now. The regional group that was, they were a worldwide group, but they were ensuring that the regional countries in particular, and Cayman was part of that, COVAX, I think is what it was called, would be guaranteed access to vaccines. And just because you're a small nation country and because you're poor doesn't mean that you shouldn't get access to vaccines. And unfortunately, in the real world, that kind of happens. The richer countries are the ones who are going to get it first. So there have been people from, you know, the UN and other organizations, yes, COVAX, who are keen to ensure that there is equality of vaccination distribution and that everyone has equal access. But trust me, there's still some places in India and elsewhere in the world where that isn't the case. Not everyone is having equal access. And this is where it blows my mind that in a country as fortunate as the Cayman Islands, even as fortunate as Jamaica, there would be vaccines there that people are not taking advantage of. It just blows my mind, seriously. Emma, thank you for that comment. James says in Canada, we're encouraged to take the first vaccine that was available. And as a result, I've been administered AstraZeneca and Moderna. Okay. Interesting. Rachel says all the COVID Spotlight series put on by CMR and Kevin have been excellent. For us to have access to real experts taking questions and sharing top professional latest knowledge is priceless and will save lives. Please keep sharing. And there's more to come. A Tuesday, we're supposed to have a virologist on the show. I'm so excited. And Dr. T is going to be coming on with the virologist. That should be exciting. So make sure you tune in for that. Sarah says in Canada, they've combined the different ones in the first and second dose. My sister had one for the first shot and another for her second. Okay, there you go. Rachel says public health have a spreadsheet on which vaccines can be mixed and timing lengths between them so people can go and ask and get information tailored to them if they need it. Yes, Miss Sue, it's crazy. Poor Africa, yeah, doesn't have equal access. Oh, Carol, trust me. I'm going to have 2 cups of teas on that one. All right, let's take a moment and hear a word from the Premier. He issued a statement yesterday on the schools. So I wanted to share that with you guys. It is 10 minutes, so just hang in there to hear what he has to say. And then in addition to that, after that, we can talk a little bit about hashtag Steve, please go away. We're so sick of you, Steve. Go away already. But let's hear what Premier Wayne Panton had to say.
Good afternoon. The global experience of the COVID-19 pandemic has been a long, difficult road for many around the world, costing lives, livelihoods, and putting unprecedented pressure on governments and communities. The Cayman Islands has been blessed to have a very different experience when compared to most places in the world. The Cayman Islands' approach of protecting our people first from day one has been different. And while many along the way have criticized our approach and predicted that it would not be successful, today we find ourselves on the brink of 80% of our population receiving at least 1 dose of the vaccine. While we are now once again experiencing community transmission, our hospitals and critical care units have not been overwhelmed. We have taken the first and most important steps to living with COVID-19, and that is ensuring our people and our healthcare system can continue to stand. It is, of course, of concern to all of us that the community transmission is seemingly concentrated within our younger population. However, this should not surprise us, because the students in our school population are amongst the least vaccinated and ineligible to be vaccinated demographic. Nevertheless, the government is faced with making decisions on a daily basis that seek first and foremost to protect the well-being of our people. The recent increase in community transmission, though not desired by any of us, has been a very useful test of our systems. It has allowed us to clearly measure our level of preparedness, testing, and response systems. And there are many lessons that have been learned, which we will continue to adapt. As a community, we must learn to live with COVID safely by managing the key risk factors, such as our vaccination rate, our local transmission rate, as well as the capacity of our public health services. Since I last addressed the country, we have had some major developments in relation to our response to the COVID-19 pandemic. On Wednesday night, government made the decision to bring forward the upcoming midterm breaks and close John Gray and Clifton Hunter High Schools as of Thursday, 7th of October. While we have been able to keep other primary schools open and safely manage COVID-19 outbreaks in other schools, this particular decision was made because of a growing number of teachers in the high schools that have been required by public health to isolate. By closing these schools a few days earlier than initially scheduled, we hope to reduce the risk of schools having insufficient staff to function safely and effectively. We also hope to slow the spread among students in the schools, given that our present isolation regime requires parents to isolate with their children, missing work, and in many cases, For those more vulnerable families, additional support is required to sustain those families who are isolated. Many families are finding this difficult, and it is certainly placing a major strain on the available resources in public health, which continues to deal with quarantine for approved travelers and returning residents. We did not make this decision to bring forward the midterm break lightly, but selected this option based on the current situation and our capacity to effectively operate both schools and the isolation and contact tracing mechanisms. I understand that this decision may be seen by some as an overreaction, given no advance notice to parents has been provided, or to students, to teachers and principals. But in all honesty, we have made this decision in the interest of their own well-being. We understand that this early break will impact the families of these students. However, we feel strongly that this is the best course of action to protect our students and the faculty that would be impacted if further spread occurs. We all know that there is no ideal playbook, no one-size-fits-all solution to the management and control of COVID-19. And as such, we will continue to adapt our strategies to what is happening in our communities. Our vision remains to learn to safely live with and to manage COVID-19, and that includes reopening our islands. This brings me to the second major development. The strategy for our response to future transmission in schools will be supported by the implementation of the approved lateral flow tests also announced yesterday. Lateral flow tests are a game changer. While the civil service is finalizing plans for a soon-to-be-announced national strategy for the use of lateral flow tests, it is our hope to deploy them in our schools first, after the midterm break, for rapid testing of our students and teachers. This will ease up the pressure on our PCR testing regime. No longer will students have to line up for hours to wait for a swab to get an indication of whether they are required to go into isolation. This will also facilitate a shift in the public health isolation model for schools. The threshold for the number of positives in a class to initiate isolating the entire class, which currently stands at 2, would change, as only students and staff who test positive would need to isolate. And lateral flow tests will allow for quick and efficient identification of positive cases. The Chief Medical Officer has indicated that vaccinated persons with unvaccinated children who test positive would no longer have to isolate, but rather be subject to daily lateral flow tests. If at any point the vaccinated parents test positive, they would then have to get a PCR test and isolate from that point onwards. Many of these tests can be self-administered and have the potential to eliminate the challenges presently faced by employers, patrons, customers, students, and those wanting to go to the gym. Lateral flow tests can be taken multiple times per week, and within 15 to 20 minutes we'll be able to identify if an individual is potentially positive, and then that individual can get a PCR test to verify the result. We need to continue to trust what we have all done and sacrificed, because our rate of hospitalization and significant illness shows that what we are doing is working. And we will continue to follow safety protocols and trust the science as we make decisions. Vaccination and booster shots remain available to the community. We know that vaccinations prevent severe illness, hospitalization, and even death. Around the world and our region, COVID has become a fight for the unvaccinated. So I make the call once again. If you're eligible to be vaccinated and have not already done so, please get your shot as soon as possible. I believe that through lateral flow testing and a continued uptake in vaccinations, we're headed in the right direction. While it has been painful and unplanned, I believe in the resilience of the Caymanian spirit. We have seen others successfully living with COVID-19, and now we can move forward with confidence based on our own experiences of the past 4 weeks, that we too can safely live with COVID-19. Soon, we will be in a position to safely and responsibly open our borders to visitors while protecting our own people and our residents. To the students, parents, teachers, principals, and other school faculty, I thank you for your continued bravery. Your courage, commitment, and ability to move ahead has led the way. I trust above all that you will understand that your well-being remains our priority as the government continues to manage COVID in our community and keep everyone safe. I thank you all for your kind attention today.
All right. So thank you so much to the Premier for that message. Explains a lot. A lot of people, Rachel says lateral flow tests are the game changers that we've been waiting for. Thank you, CIT, for getting them. Carol says, I want my booster, lower the age to over 50, and I'm there. So Carol's ready and willing and able to get that done. Okay, so there you have it. Couple of things materializing there. Oh my goodness. An explanation. Oh, child. Thank God this is only a cold, because I don't want to experience anything worse than this. Those poor people suffering from COVID, trust me. I'm just like, oh my God, I cannot imagine the pain and discomfort and ultimate death. Wow. Remember which doctor was it that said, was that Dr. Claudia that said that she's had a child come in who was coughing so much that he'd actually punctured his own lungs from coughing so much from COVID? I was like, geez, I'm beast. That's a lot of coughing. Anyway, folks, let's talk about Steve. Oh, Lord, have mercy. Why y'all be, I don't want to talk about Steve, but that's what everybody's talking about. All right, Steve, you're getting your 15 minutes for sure. You are definitely exercising your 15 minutes of whatever this is. Steve, I mean, sorry. All right. So, sorry. Yes. Steve is getting his 15 minutes, child. He went and put up some more foolishness on his little website yesterday. So, you know, I am not pleased to see that this is even an ongoing conversation. But anyway, let me share with y'all what Steve has done in his open statement. Hold on a second now. So he's got his open letter to the governor's office. I'm just trying to make sense of this website. I think Steve is amongst other things that I think about Steve. I think that he or she, whoever Steve is, clearly has idle hands, has nothing better to do. But they're also, I'm trying to find the one article that's got everybody up in a tizzy. Hold on one second. They also probably suffer from a little bit of ADD, because this website gives me a headache just trying to navigate and find things on the website. I'm like looking for this particular link right now, and you can't even find it. So they have a registration page where they want you to register. Let me just see if I can find the link about oh gosh, what was he going on about? About nationality. Outlaw selection by nationality. Here we go. So yes. So poor Steve writing this foolishness. But let's read what he has written, because I guess we need to. I even hate entertaining foolishness like this, because to me this is really, really foolishness. But by the way, did you guys see this person who claims that I don't know who this person is, and this is really, really interesting. But there's someone by the name of, okay, so there's a couple fringe people who are in these WhatsApp groups. Funny enough, I understand that Alden McLaughlin is at least in one of them. There's like some signal group, and they're on there going on and on. Like the anti-vaxxers feel like they have to hide out in these groups. And, you know, what they don't know is that there are people in there who are listening to their ridiculousness and seeing how crazy they are. And I guess maybe at some point they initially had an interest, and then they recognize that, wow, this goes far beyond anything that I could potentially be interested in, right? So there's a number of these groups. I'm going to try to see if I can show you some of these. So there's one called Cayman Issues. And Cayman Issues is one of these kind of weird fringe groups. There's different people in it. And there's somebody named Jigo. I don't know who Jigo is, but apparently Jigo is making some defamatory comments about me. So I guess he or she thinks that they can hide behind WhatsApp messaging, and that we're not going to figure out who Jigo is. Well, Jigo, I already have your phone number, child. So, you know, once I have your phone number, it wouldn't take me very long to make some inquiries into who you actually are. So this is Jigo 917-7876. 141 people are actually in this group, and they are making all sorts of comments. Apparently Jigo, whoever Jigo is, has an issue with me in particular. And so Jigo posted in the group yesterday that this Steve person who's created this, how is it pronounced? Is it pronounced epicy.ky? Is that how you pronounce it? I don't even know how you pronounce it. This website, which is pro expats, it's this expat association of the Cayman Islands. This Jigo person is saying that I'm this person. So it says, this is what he said, he or she, I'm assuming it's a man, but I have no clue, to be honest. So they posted this comment, and of course people sent to me right away, and they're like, wow, you know, like, have a look at what this person's saying. And I said, you know, this person, whoever they are, should be mindful of trying to defame people's character, because they're accusing me of having something to do with this website. I don't know anything about the Expat Association of the Cayman Islands. I don't know anything about the website. I don't really know anything about Steve. But here we go. Jigo says, fake site set up by CMR to distract people and cause problems with expats. Really, Jigo? Can somebody tell me who the hell Jigo is? Somebody must have this contact number saved, because I'd like to reply to this person with their proper name and not some fake name. You see, let me make myself very clear, Jigo, whoever you are, right? I don't have to hide behind anything. I stand up here every single day and I give y'all my opinions, whether you like it or not. And you don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it. That's freedom of speech. I don't have to hide behind a name Jigo and be in some group where I can make comments about someone's character and not be able to stand behind it. If I make a comment about someone's character, honey child, I'll stand behind it. So when I sit here and I talk about the Katinas of the world, and I talk about her character, she claims that she want to sue me. Sue me for what? For saying that you were a crackhead? Well, everybody knows that. That's no secret. That's not damaging your reputation. That's the truth. And the singular defense to defamation is the truth. Right? So you can't be accusing me of setting up this website and it's a fake website, blah, 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 when I have nothing to do with it. I stand behind anything that I put out there. I can stand behind it. I can get in front of y'all and say, this is my website, this is my email address, so on and so forth. Now, some people are very, very concerned about who this Steve person is that is allegedly behind this website. So much so that I had people contacting me last night to say, you know, can we go to OffReg and put in an FOI request to find out who is behind this website? Now, I started to think about it. Have they gone too far already? Well, they've certainly insulted every single Caymanian. No two ways about that. And they've insulted a lot of good thinking expats as well. Does that mean at this point that they've broken a law? I don't think that they've actually broken any laws yet. I do think that Steve, if he had any sense, would stand up and say who he is. Who are you, Steve? Why are you hiding? Right? Why are you, oh, you can be anonymous. No one is going to take you incredibly seriously if you can't even say, here's my face. Here's what I think about it. This is my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to like it. What are you hiding for? You know why you're hiding? Because number one, you're a coward. And number two, you know that the things that you are saying and doing are emotive and ridiculous. And I don't know, is it possible that Steve actually has Caymanian friends that would no longer be friends with him if they knew that that's how Steve actually really thought about them? I don't know. You see, I don't know who Steve is. I know, the only thing I know for certain is Steve ain't me. And I don't have the time to be, first of all, this is the caliber of website that I would put up. Let me show y'all. So, Gigo, get yourself together before I find out who you are and serve you with some papers. So this person has gone out of the way. I think that they're British based on all this foolishness here. Foreign equals no job allowed and all sorts of stuff. So they have something here where they say outlaw selection by nationality. And then they talk about how the Cayman Islands is supposed to be a civilized society. Now, let me say this, right? Sometimes you can pick up on little tidbits of how people write and the things that they say that can give you some insight into potentially who they are. This person probably is an English person, like English being from the UK, because I don't spell civilized that way. In case you've noticed, my verbiage and my spelling, my vocabulary is based on the American system because that's where I grew up and that's the English that I learned. Yes, I know how to spell it the British way, but I don't spell it the British way. I don't spell anything the British way if I can help it, because that isn't where I was educated. And I have, even on my computer, I have my spell check set to American English. So I think this person's actually British, or at least they were taught in a British system, the way that they spell and they say certain things. So they claim that the Cayman is a civilized society. It welcomes hundreds of nationalities to its shores, but that welcome does not necessarily extend to welcoming an expat to gain a job. Now hear how far they've gone. Like, really? What do you mean we don't welcome you to gain a job? What do you mean by gain a job? First of all, the vast majority of people here in the Cayman Islands are actually here for employment opportunities. So to me, that doesn't even make any logical sense. So here's what they claim. Frequently, we see adverts and anecdotes. Did they spell that right? Is there an extra E in there? No, I think that's right. Driving the agenda to discriminate against people not born or having status on the island. This can be as simple as outright requiring Caymanian status to subtle job applications that are permit renewals in all but name. So I'm not really following it, but okay. And then they go on to say this in our view is discrimination based on nationality. What a hot mess. That comment is likely to cause a stir. Well, that's what Steve wants with the local population, because why wouldn't they have advantage of home soil when competing for work locally? And to some degree, I would agree. But the issue is an entitled attitude is starting to pervade every facet of life in Cayman to the point of elements of racial tension. What? Especially towards white people. Steve, once again, I don't know where you live in the Cayman Islands and who you're hanging out with, but racial tension in the Cayman Islands, you need to do some history lessons. Here it is, joke now. We know of certain examples of racial discrimination against white people in the workplace. Like literally, that made me spit out my tea. I don't know what Steve is talking about. He is crazy. Now he makes reference to the police. So now I'm thinking in my mind, Steve is connected to, he's probably one of those RCIPS officers who got a contract because of connections with the leadership. And, you know, they did win a lawsuit the other day against this kind of foolishness, this discrimination. And so maybe he's one of those people who was initially on the receiving end of special treatment that now isn't going to be getting special treatment. So Steve goes on to say, the promotion of blacks over whites in the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service is disguised as promoting the rights of locals over expats. But scratch the service, okay, and you will see that while locals are given opportunities over expats, so are blacks over whites. Steve, what are you talking about? What? Say what? Let me say this first of all. The RCIPS, the vast majority of the RCIPS is not even Caymanians. So Steve, what are you talking about? Right? The RCIPS is very diverse, but the diversity of Caymanians in the force is a minority. So when you're talking about there's discrimination, there's promotion of blacks over whites in the RCIPS, what are you talking about? The leadership brass at the RCIPS, and I'm just stating facts, you know, the lead detectives, the top leadership, looks pretty British to me. And not black British. I don't think we've ever had a black British head of any of our services, whether it's prison, police. What else do we have? So I'm confused. Like what Steve is saying to me just doesn't even make any logical sense. But anyway, he seems to say that he has some inside knowledge, and his obsession about the police does make me wonder if he's not a police officer. And one of these on contracts. He's probably retired and they keep giving them contracts to renew all the time. So he says that we have recorded an evidence instance where white police officers have been refused courses to advance their skills and told not to apply for promotion because a white arse will never sit on that seat. Now, Steve, you know you lying. I mean, listen to me. You are a liar. And I can say this without fear of contradiction, Steve, because I have inside sources that have been telling me that even the examination that has been given when it was to get these contracts and get promoted and whatever, certain English officers were given preferential treatment with the examination. And when it came to the locals, like, oh, no notice, no nothing about the exam, and other people practically giving the answers. Those are the allegations from people, from members of the force. It's so interesting that Steve wishes to say the opposite, as though people might actually not know what is going on or what is being alleged to be going on within the RCIPS. And this isn't something recent. I've heard these allegations for quite some time. In fact, give me 1 second. I'm going to just go back. Let me tell you what I received. Again, Steve, you need to check yourself. This was back in let's see if I can find it. This was a while ago. This was at least a couple months ago that I was receiving these complaints about these exams. I'm just trying to see if I can find the messages now. Okay, let me see. It's been a while, so I'm doing a lot of scrolling. It's been a couple months, but the gist of it is that there was not fair treatment of the locals, right, who were seeking promotions and advancement in RCIPS. So Steve wants us to believe that it's the white officers who are being discriminated against. First of all, Steve, if any discrimination is happening, I would find it very, very hard to believe, again, since the majority of the management at the RCIPS would be white English officers, I would find it very difficult to believe that they would be discriminating in favor of someone not of their own ilk. That doesn't really make any sense. Like, you're going to help your own, you're going to help your friends, you're going to help your colleagues from the UK who just all happen to be white. And the lawsuit found that, in fact, that is quite a bit of what was happening. So, you know, we talked about this lawsuit maybe over a month ago, how these RCIPS officers had been successful up to the, did they get as far as, well, definitely the Court of Appeal. And the court sent it back to the lower court to revise their decision. Because it found that, yes, there were things that were being done that were not in keeping with good administrative order within the RCIPS. And, you know, people were, it was discriminatory, basically. And people were given contracts not in a uniform manner and opportunities to renew contracts, etc. And it had nothing to do with the Black people having the upper hand. So Steve wishes for you to believe something that even the court has now ruled on that is not in agreement with what Steve is saying. So again, I don't know who Steve is. Is Steve someone who's disgruntled because he didn't get the renewal of a work permit? Child, I'm trying to go back to find these messages. Has it been that long ago? Oh my gosh. Anyway, it was a while ago. I can't even find them now. It's been that long. I'm all the way in August and I still can't find the messages. But I know it's been a couple months that this person brought it to my attention. They're like, Sandy, you kind of need to look into this because there are people being promoted in the RCIPS and taking these exams to acquire the promotion. And, you know, the officers themselves are saying that this is what's happening, the preferential treatment that is being given out. And it's not given out to the Black persons over the white persons, as Steve wishes for us to believe. So he goes on to talk about recorded and evidence incidents. We'd like to see those, Steve. We know of another incident where a highly qualified, experienced officer was forced from his role by the police association to try and put a local Black officer in the post, despite no officer actually applying for the job, and much less anyone locally being qualified in that highly specific post. Well, you know, Steve, in my book, if you had evidence of these things, you should have provided evidence in your diatribe here. He continues, we can also point to several expat Black Caribbean officers gaining promotion and opportunities over their white colleagues who are frequently better qualified to do the job or function. I mean, Steve, at this point, I think anybody reading this is just kind of like shaking their head, like, really, Steve? He goes on to say that much of this racial divide stems from past colonial issues. Now, here's where I think that Steve must be a joker, because everything that he has said is the argument that a person of color would be saying, right? So Steve has taken the exact same playbook that a person of color would say, okay, this is discrimination, whatever, except he is putting it, and I don't know if this is supposed to be tongue-in-cheek or what Steve is trying to do here, but instead of saying that this is racism in the way that it's actually happening, potentially, so the white officers getting preferential treatment over the Caribbean or Black officers, he's flipped it, but using the exact same arguments to justify his points. So he claims that we can look at past colonial issues, past things that should not impact fairness and equality today in a civilized society. Like much of expat life today, these things get raised locally amongst the workforce, but never questioned higher up because of the fear of losing a work permit at renewal. I don't know what Steve's talking about. Anyway, he goes on to say Caymanians are inexperienced, or look at what's going to happen to the chief medical officer when he leaves. Our fear is a local Caymanian will get the role. Really? That's your fear? Once Dr. Lee leaves, if Cayman really wants to select its own people for technically difficult roles, they need to be ensuring they gain experience in economies and societies that will expose them to significant pressure of work and a fast-paced decision-making environment to prove the local can handle the role. I mean, it's just, it's ridiculous. And it says that we're taking the outlawing of discrimination by nationality as a mission that will endeavor to push politically here in Cayman and in Westminster in the UK, with the UK press to outline the discriminatory employment. Steve, I'm going to join with everybody else and say that you got to go. This website is meant to stir up nothing but hatred and divisiveness. And it's not based on anything that is actually true. The discrimination doesn't work in that way at all. And so, like I said, I have no way of knowing who Steve is. I don't know if Steve is a Caymanian that is trying to push people's buttons. I mean, like I said yesterday, I theorize that that could entirely be possible. I would hope no Caymanian would be so stupid to think that they would, get any points off of this. But at the same time, I don't put anything past anybody. But the things that we know for sure is that Steve is hiding behind this facade, this website. He seems obsessed with the RCIPS and what's going on there. And what his main objective is, I don't even know. I think Steve just needs to get some help, to be honest. Let me take some of your comments. Emma says maybe Steve is a displaced tourism business owner with a lot of anger, and the only way he knows how to deal with his own anger is to piss off a lot of people. Poor guy is probably screaming for help, but going about it in the wrong way because he has some serious issues. Definitely has some serious issues. Natasha says every country does that, Steve. They look out for their own first. Yeah. Except us, to be honest, Natasha. We're really not doing that. And that's why what Steve says is actually inaccurate. Caymanians are not the ones. Listen, I've sat here and given you, he's talking about, he's collected evidence. Show the evidence, Steve. Where's the evidence? Because the evidence isn't there. I go back to that lawsuit. I got a little issue with my microphone here today, but if we were to go back to that lawsuit that we talked about, let me see if I can find it here. Months ago, that the RCIPS basically lost, and the Attorney General arguing on their behalf. Was it the police association that actually, or individual officers? I think it was individual officers that may have mounted that challenge. But even the police association, so Privy Council, this was July 27th, CMR had this article up. Privy Council finds police re-engagement policy irrational. So when Steve talks about the fact that discrimination is happening against the white officers, that's not what this found at all, actually. Now, the point wasn't made. I should make this clear. I don't think the legal arguments were about discrimination based on color or nationality. However, I'd have to go back and read the judgment again. There were a number of issues about officers reaching retirement age and being re-engaged into the service, and whether or not it amounted to age discrimination, Section 9 of the ECHR, and whether or not there was some question about the mandatory retirement age from the force and re-engagement in the force. So the RCIPS has different mandatory retirement ages for different officers, and it applied that to non-gazetted officers. They changed the age from 55 to 60 for those appointed after November the 22nd of 2010. However, many officers would be re-engaged after being subjected to mandatory retirement, and they're re-engaged at the rank of constable regardless of the rank that they attained or the needs of the police service. So again, when you go into the details of this, I can tell you that the Privy Council, found that they got it wrong and they were sending it back to the lower courts. But in addition to that, they didn't exactly, the 6 officers didn't claim racial discrimination or discrimination based on nationality. But I can tell you, people in the legal profession that I have spoken to, let me just find some of those comments, said to me at the time of publication of this article, they said, Sandy, this is what they said. Listening to the cold hard truth, OMG, you have me shouting at YouTube. It was racism. Oh, yes. There were complaints by, that was another office. that was the another case of alleged racism coming out of the DPP's office. Remember that one? Yeah. So that was August. That was another case. Oh, and that was an English guy there too. Okay. Like I said, Steve's is what he says is not based in facts. That was Patrick Moran, remember? So when we did the Privy Council article in July, this person said, okay, they were this is where they forced Black officers to resign or to come back at lower rank, but kept white officers in until they dropped dead. Pensions being given instead of keeping an experienced local officer. You will note none of the officers involved are white. Again, none of the 6 officers that sued based on the age discrimination, all this other stuff, are white police officers. Steve seems to be a police officer or someone connected to the police, and he would obviously know this Privy Council decision, which is saying the opposite of what he's saying. Okay. Rachel says definitely English, and they have a lack of understanding about many things, including role of the governor, works and immigration laws, cannot even tell the difference between Jamaican and Caymanian people. Natasha says, oh yes, I think we did this. Oh yes, every country does this, Steve. We in the Caribbean aren't about black and white like the US and the UK. We do, however, have simmering issues with immigrants who hold similar entitlement attitudes, such as Steve. So Steve has become the new Karen. Trust me. If you're familiar with Karen out of the US, she's the type of person that's going to pick up the phone and call 911, call the police on some black guy walking his dog, just because he's a black guy walking his dog in the park. And she's going to pretend that he's doing something to her when he actually wasn't. That's a Karen mentality, right? So Karen represents that type of person. Steve is our version of Karen. Sue says this person talks a lot of nonsense. Aliano says arse. Yep, British, but really we can clearly see the employment rate is greatly non-Caymanian. Even married to real Caymanian, generational Caymanian is not even 20%, 25%, sorry. Yes, arse that's how the British say ass, I guess. Natasha, most Caymanians, because of the discrimination in the workforce, are overqualified with multiple degrees compared to the immigrant coworker. And, while Steve wants us to believe, and I'm not saying that this may not ever happen, that there are some Caymanians who are in positions who are not qualified for those jobs, fully qualified. What I do know is I can point to instances where Caymanians were qualified. Do we need to revisit that education, human resources job where the Canadian man had no qualification and what experience he got? So he didn't have the degree compared to his Caymanian, competitors who had master's degrees in human resources. He got a diploma courtesy of the Cayman Islands government. And the experience he got was because they had him acting in the job for far too long. And then he could put that in his resume. Oh, I've had 7 months of this actual position. Yeah, because you were acting in the job. That's our own government. So, on the one hand, I don't know who Steve is. I'm not appreciating his sentiments, but the reality is there are a lot of people in the system, Caymanians, who allow a Steve to be able to get up and say what he does because they have created a lot of the injustices against their own people that exist. How can you hire this man over your own Caymanian people? You know, the civil service, whatever that board is called, had to turn over that decision. They're like, no, there was at least 3 other more qualified Caymanian women who should have gotten the job over this guy. Why did you give him the job? And they did better in their interview as well. They weren't just qualified on paper and experience, but in the interview, they actually scored better. Steve, these are the things that it's convenient for a Steve to look over because you're not really seeped in the real world. So Patricia says if he's a police officer, he should be ashamed of himself. Having lived here, he should be grateful and not so divide or try and cause division. We have more pressing issues to deal with. Maria says, Sandy, get him off island. Obviously, he's bipolar, full bloom. Child, I don't know. I don't even know. Sue says he probably wouldn't even have a job where he's from. Well, I know one thing, a lot of officers come here and enjoy. They might have a job, but they're not going to have a job where half the time there's not much serious crime for them even to engage in. It's like a vacation, really. Anyway, folks, all I can tell you is Steve is obviously purposely agitating the community. What I would say is don't go to his website. Don't visit Steve's website. Don't give him a platform. Unfortunately, we had to because this is what is being discussed here in the Cayman Islands. I want to make it very, very clear to Jigo. And again, Jigo, one phone call I could find out exactly whose number this is. 917-7876. They actually have a pretty decent number. So Jigo, I can assure you that I know nothing about this website. I'm not Steve. I wouldn't even have that kind of time or energy. Clearly, Jigo doesn't know how busy I am, child. Natasha says, how many times have we heard immigrants who become Caymanian citizens say that they had a better chance of gaining employment before they became Caymanians? All the time, actually. So interesting. Yes, as soon as they get status, then they're like, oh, now that I'm a Caymanian. So Natasha says, so Steve, in my Cardi B voice, I can't do Cardi B. She's got a very different kind of voice. When are Caymanians being put first? Those words in the job adverts are crap and only fulfill the work permit requirement. Thank you, Natasha. Advertising requirement of claiming that they want only Caymanians or status holders or permanent residents, which we know is BS, as they already have the work permit application submitted or permit holder. Yeah. Thank you, Gabby. Yes, I guess he's trying to start some kind of war, but we're not about that life, folks. We ain't warring. No, no, and no. All right, folks, we are just about out of time. Okay, just a few messages. Oh, wow. We're looking into a bit of a situation. About the airport, like when it rains. So maybe next week I'll have some more information on that. Basically, this new, you can't pull up to the airport, when the flights depart and come in, is causing a real situation for people, especially when it's raining. When it's nice and sunshiny, no problem. But when it's raining, people are getting drenched and soaked with their luggage. And it's a bit of a hot mess of a situation. We've gotten a number of complaints. We are looking into it. And we'll certainly let you all know next week what sort of updates we have. It seems like for whatever reason, that's the new procedure. They say it's security protocols that they're following. Taxi drivers can line up there, but no more drop off and pick up by the average person. It is a bit of an inconvenience, I must tell you, because I was there yesterday. It was raining off and on, and I was definitely making some observations of how people are struggling with the trolleys and, you know, trying to get their stuff where they have to go. And I think, you know, the days of going to Miami, listen to me now. The days of going to Miami, folks, where you could literally, you know, come back with 5 suitcases like full of stuff. You do all your Christmas shopping and all these other things. I think it's fair to say that those days are long gone. Travel has just become another pain in the rear. It's not what it was from all the security protocols of 9/11 to now Cayman finally implementing even more security protocols. It's just a real pain. And I'm just going to be ordering everything from Amazon. Thank you, AirPost. I'm going to just tell AirPost, here's my list. Here's what's coming. Just, I can't even be bothered. It's not fun anymore. It's not something that you want to do. You're going to get drenched if it's raining. You have to do what? Walk with your umbrella? Ugh. Aliana says, oh boy, that $50 million mess. Jason says, can someone confirm the news going around on Facebook about that girl? What girl? That would be the first question I'd ask. What girl? All right. So I think that's the show for now. Carlos, if Cayman goes independent, will the dollar be $1 like the Bahamas? I found a way to have 1.2. Carlos, where do you get this stuff from? I don't think there was any serious conversation in this moment in time about Cayman going independent. So that is not a conversation we were having. So no one knows that. So I don't know what to tell you except to have a good weekend. All of you, please have a fantastic and safe weekend. The roads are still a little bit wet. Look like we have a little bit of overcast still. So maybe some rain here and there. Folks, please take your time on the roadways. There's no need to rush and hurry to get anywhere on this island. Believe me, you get there safe and alive. That's the most important thing. Mashing up your vehicles, getting in an accident, you know, it's just not worth it. Just slow down. Take your time. Use your indicator. Look both ways. Give people a bly. Yes, you can go. Thank you very much. Nothing wrong with that. Y'all have a beautiful weekend. Please be safe.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.